Welcome to St. Augustine this evening, the Mike Davis Show. And I now notice that we're out of camera on the camera that feeds everything. Like you used to be able to see, and now you can't see. So yeah, I know. Wait a minute, don't do that. There's a strange man back there who might be or might not be named. Oh, there we are, Pete. Thank you so much, brother. Fixing all of our technical glitches today is the man who created the 904 now, Pete Melfi. So, Pete, we're glad you're in here. We got great guests for you today. Unfortunately for me, it doesn't happen often, but I will be the oldest one in the studio today. So, everybody's much younger, much better looking than me, and much funnier. So, but before we get to all that, we want to thank all of our sponsors, especially Anastasia Diner and Moultrie Diner. If you want to go get a great breakfast or lunch, those are the places to go. Andy's a longtime listener, big supporter of the show. And I got to tell you, the Anastasia Diner is awesome. It's like walking into Old St. Augustine. You get to see all the old folks that you know there. When I say old, I don't mean old. I just mean the old friends. And it's super good. Staff is wonderful. Food is amazing. So Anastasia Diner and Moultrie Diner, you get a chance. Go give them a shot this weekend. I'll probably be there Saturday.
Yeah?
Yeah,
again?
Saturday's my morning.
That's a breakfast morning.
It's a breakfast morning.
If you want to meet and greet with Mike Davis, you know where to find him. All right, let's step into the world of support and healing with Epic Behavioral Healthcare. They were in here yesterday. If you didn't catch that show, definitely watch it. It was amazing. It was a great conversation. For over 50 years, Epic has been a beacon of hope for our community, providing compassionate care for those touched with substance abuse and mental health disorders. Whether you're a kid, teen, adult, couple, or family, Epic is here to lend a helping hand. With a range of programs tailored to meet diverse needs, Epic offers accessible solutions for everyone. From their walk-in access center to their mobile response team, from inpatient detoxification to outpatient counseling, Epic provides comprehensive care every step of the way. Their services include psychiatric evaluations, medication management, medication-assisted treatment, care coordination, peer support, suicide prevention training, parenting education, and much, much more. Epic's impact doesn't stop there. They're proud to be the heart of St. Augustine, coordinating beloved community events like Taste of St. Augustine, Flower and Garden Expo, and Ancient City Kids Day. It's their honor to serve the community, so support them, Epic Behavioral Healthcare. And we also have the team at South State Bank. They are a group of bankers you can count on. Their approach to building long-term relationships with their customers is the best in the business. If you are looking for a banking relationship you can depend on, check out South State Bank. They've got 3 locations to serve you in St. Augustine: State Road 312, State Road 16, or the beach. You can also visit them at southstatebank.com. They are a member FDIC.
All right, and Salomon Services, they've got a state-of-the-art center with both indoor and outdoor turf areas. All of their coaches are certified through the National Strength and Conditioning Association. And this time of year, if you've got a Ute or a college student that is looking to get better at shape for their sport next year, give them a call because they're running classes just for Utes and college students. So middle school students are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. High school students, same day, 5 to 6 p.m. And college students are 8 to 9 p.m. So if you're looking to get in better shape, you can also go there. I'll be there in the morning. It's an absolutely wonderful facility. Great people to train with, and allows me to do the one thing that's really fun, which is surf a little bit better. Not that I'm great, but I surf a little bit better. Also, today in Jackie Hurd's calendar for the city of St. Augustine, there is nothing. So we are dubbing it Pete Melfi Day.
No, it's gotta be Lee Court Day. Happy birthday, Lee Court
today. That's right. It's Lee Court's birthday. It's Lee Court. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday from the Mike Lewis Show.
From the Mike Lewis Show and all of the crew. We love just one of the most fun shows that we've ever done. And when Jackie Hurd saw me this morning at Rotary, she said, by the way, I heard Amanda doesn't have a calendar.
I don't.
And please give Amanda a calendar.
I got a calendar.
So you get a calendar from Jackie Hurd.
Thank you, Jackie. That's amazing.
Yep. Pete, do you want a calendar too? Because we have one for you as well. If you need one, Pete. So just let us know. Pete doesn't even want to be here today.
No, he might be gone already.
I do want to give him credit, though, for testing out the new mics and equipment on the evening show. That way, if it all works today, he's good to go in the morning. He is sheer genius.
Is that why he keeps us around, so he can try out all the new tech before he has to go live in the morning?
We are the guinea pigs of this network. It's okay. We understand what we're here for. We embrace it. We love it. It's awesome. So
if it can survive me working tech, then it can work for the morning.
It can work in the morning show. All right, we got 2 great guests with us, husband and wife, Jacob and Kendal Galura. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah. Just like it looks.
Man. That's it, because I sometimes mispronounce my own name. So I'm really happy I got that. But Jacob is involved with Christian Surfers. Kendall is here to make sure Jacob doesn't say anything inappropriate or wrong.
That is correct.
And if he misstates anything, she will correct him.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We got that. We're on this.
It's on.
And so how did you get involved with Christian Surfers?
Yeah, so I met Christian Surfers for the first time. I was a freshman at Flagler, and I was just surfing the pier in between classes, and met a couple guys that were really epic and super inviting in the lineup, which is kind of a rarity at times. And I was brand new to town, didn't really know anybody, and so it was cool to have some guys to surf with. And yeah, that was kind of my intro, and they just started inviting me to go surf with them, check out different spots in town, little road trips down to New Smyrna, little bit of everything in between, and then just got introduced to the local Christian Surfers chapter and what they were doing there.
So north side or south side, this is really important, whether we're going to keep doing this interview or it's over. It actually doesn't matter.
Wait, are we talking like north or south side at the time?
Yeah, well, at the time, because listen, it changes so much.
Yeah.
There's times that the north side's been great, and there's times that the south side.
So when I was there, it was north side, because they were just starting to dredge when it was 2012. So it was, I think that was one of the better dredges that I remember. Yeah. So it was definitely the north side.
Yes. And the dredge might be amazing right now, but Lake Atlantic will not give us anything to find out if it's good or not.
That is very true.
It is. This is I don't know if you agree, because you've been around here. Wow, this is the worst spring I've seen in forever.
Yeah, there hasn't been much going on, at least for me. Big dudes and small waves don't mesh well.
Medium-sized dudes and small waves don't mesh well. Yeah. I think the Groms are the only ones having a good time. I mean, it's always waist high for them, but I mean, the rest of us are just, we're waiting.
It's always firing when you're 100 pounds.
Yes, it is. And I had a friend who was just completely out of it yesterday because there were no waves. There weren't going to be waves for the next couple of days. And he sent a note, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, listen, Buttercup, it's June. You're just going to have to toughen up. And I said, was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? I said, you're just going to have to tighten up on this, man. You're just going to have to get there. So it was, we went in the pool today and swam. So that's
always a good choice.
Yeah. So you get in the pool, get a little bit of exercise in. So you come here, some of these guys, was there just one person, or was it just like a group that invited you?
Yeah, it was a combo of a couple of the guys that were on staff. It was a guy named Alex Hobbs, one of my really, really good friends. He was one of my grooms in my wedding, and another friend, Paul Hires. They were both on staff with Christian Surfers at the time, and they were both just super friendly. Al is just a frother, and he absolutely rips, and so it's easy to want to hang out with a guy like that when he can show you around and help you surf a little better. Yeah. And then my other friend, Paul, he ended up being a huge mentor to me, but he got me because he was a board builder, and so I would spend hours and hours in the shaping bay watching him, put new outlines in foam and just learn more about what building boards looks like and why you do different things when you build different boards.
Goofy or regular foot?
Regular foot.
Okay. All right. That's good. And you've never done SUP before. Let's just get that out of the way right now.
Not
without
choice.
A gun at your head.
Not by choice.
Okay. All right.
And
just
not in waves.
No, it's important to get that down. There's only one person in town that's allowed to SUP.
Yeah.
And that's
Uncle Tim.
way, way away. Well, you call him Uncle Tim. We call him the legend here.
Yeah.
He is the legend on this network. So, did you grow up in an area where there was surf?
No. So I grew up in Orlando. I was born and raised there, but my mom's best friend, her brother was really in tight with like Greg Lohr and a lot of the Central Florida shaping community. And so I was gifted my first board when I was 10. And just like every kid who tries to learn how to surf, they have a friend of the family say, I'll take you out and show you how to do it. And you get there and the waves are good. And he just straight out the back and you're left trying to figure out what to do. And so that was my experience of learning how to surf.
Well, mine was a friend who was the same age in high school. He had been surfing for a little while. And we go down to the beach and he's like, okay, I'm going to teach you guys how to surf. And he puts a board on the ground. He says, this is how you paddle. And then he hops up on the board, and this is how you get up. Go. Yeah. I mean, literally, that was the... like, okay, that's it? Yeah, that's it. You'll be fine.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, you'll be okay. The amount of things that I learned the first 6 months from surfing that he didn't tell me were all very important.
Yeah, it's a great education, learning by failing.
Yeah, it really... Yes. I remember the first time we surfed big waves, because started surfing in April, May, and then it was flat all summer. It wasn't very big. And then the big northeaster rolls in, and we had managed to make it outside. We were on our way back in. It was so big at A Street back then. You got to the top of the wave and you could see the one house just to the south of A Street.
Yeah.
The 2-story. And you're like, okay, I know I'm close to A Street. And you go back down on the well and you come back up. And on the way in, I hit one of these inside breakers. I was riding it. And all of a sudden it went from about chest high to about 2 feet overhead in about a half a second. And I didn't know what to do. I'd never been in that situation. Next thing I know, I am trying to find my way up.
Yep.
I can't get to the bottom. I can't get to, I'm like, this is not good. I finally wrapped my foot around the leash and used that to shoot up and to get to the back to the surface. And I was like, okay, important thing to know. Never do that again.
Yeah.
Right. So don't do that one.
You really learn what not to do in a hurry.
Yes. And I'm still learning. I had a wipeout in Costa Rica about a year ago. And it was just, this big wave was coming in and I turned my back to it and just threw the board in front of me. And I've done that before, right? I'm just going to go underneath the wave. I'm facing the beach. The wave hit that board and it must have acted like a 50-mile-an-hour gust to a sail.
Yep.
And it just yanked it towards the beach. And the next thing I know, my back foot is coming over my head and it flips me completely around and I do the superhero landing on the ground underwater.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm walking up the beach about 30 minutes later and my knee's like, hey, I don't feel so good. Yeah. I just want to let you know, I don't feel good.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I didn't like that at all. That wasn't fun. So yeah, the things you kind of learn and you go, oh boy. So you went to Flagler.
Yeah.
You surfed the whole time with Christian surfers there?
Not the whole time. I surfed at Flagler. Not very well. I was kind of getting back into surfing, but I finally showed up to Christian surfers probably my sophomore year of college after kind of blowing it off for about a year. And that's when I got connected. I went on a trip to the Dominican Republic with them that year, and a camp out in the Outer Banks. So that was kind of like me seeing that there was a way to travel and surf and see new places, get to surf some good waves. So I was pretty stoked.
Yeah, Flagler has always had a great kind of faith-based community. Young Life was huge out of Flagler. It was big in our high school and the high schools when I was a kid growing up. It's still big in the community. Great group, but Christian surfers kind of rolled right in there with them. And there were a lot of people that had Young Life that were Christian surfers at the same time. I mean, it's kind of that same track. When did you begin to get involved? When did it kind of suck you into it? And you're like, okay, I got to keep going to all these meetings. I don't want to miss a meeting.
Yeah, it kind of happened from the first one. Like typical college kid who was broke and didn't know what he was going to do for dinner. They were like, hey, we're having a barbecue tonight at the house. Come on over. So yeah, who's not going to show up for food? And just the guys that I met there, just the whole vibe of the community, it was really awesome. And it was everything that I didn't know I needed and didn't know I was looking for. And so it hooked me right off the bat. And I just started spending as much time with those guys as I could. And they had a pretty cool house. It used to be in Crescent Beach before Hurricane Matthew wiped it out. I think it's a doctor's office now, but they had everything from a shaping bay, some mini ramps in the garage. You know, you could stash your boards there if you needed to, and they had a little fire pit in the middle, and living room TV. So it was a really cool hangout spot while we were in college.
Well, and I give you full credit. You grew up in Orlando, moved to St. Augustine to go to college, and managed to surf and go to college. I grew up here surfing and had to leave. I had to go to Florida Southern in Lakeland because I was so afraid if I was near the ocean that I wouldn't get out of college. And so I put myself in the middle of the state.
Yeah, there's definitely some times I walked into class with wet board shorts.
Mm-hmm. You went to class. I don't know that I would have gone to class. I don't know that for me, I was like, feel like you're a surfer. Why are you going to Lakeland? I said, I got to get out of college in 4 years. My parents have told me I got a 4-year plan and I got to pay for it after that. I'm getting out of there as fast as I can.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was road trips. We did road trip one time to Tampa. There was a hurricane going by. You're like, okay, when we get there, it's going to at least be chest high.
Yeah.
Not waist high.
Yep.
The golf just doesn't do it the same way.
Yeah, it doesn't. But I will say I've been to Pensacola a handful of times over the years for Christian surfers. And like the first 3 or 4 times I went, it was every single time there was a tropical storm spinning in the Gulf. And it was, I don't think the first 3 or 4 times I went, it wasn't under head high either of the times we were there. So it's just a ton of fun.
So my mentor and the guy that kind of got me involved, and he wasn't involved in Christian surfers, but a very faith-based guy is Mike Green. And he had Tropical Mike Surf Shop. And it was right at the end of St. George, right next to the city gates. And we lived on Water Street and would ride our bikes to work at Flagler College. And on the way home at about 4:30, 5 o'clock, we'd stop at the shop and we'd ask Mike, are the waves breaking? Where are they breaking? Where are you going surfing? And he was just this great guy and a great mentor and was a huge help to us. But yeah, it was so much fun kind of getting in there. But he moved to Pensacola. And it was back before the internet and everyone had a cell phone. And so I'd get a letter once in a while, or he'd come back into town and be like, oh yeah, it's really great over in the waves are good. The waves are really good. So I go over one time for a conference and I call him and say, hey, I've got 3 hours tomorrow morning. Do you want to go surf? And he's like, yeah, I'll come pick you up at your hotel and I'll bring an extra board. So he picks me up. We drive to the beach. It is about 40 degrees with a 30-mile-an-hour wind. And it's perfectly flat. And I said, I said, this is the place you surf? I said, these are the waves you've been bragging about for all this time? I said, I don't know.
Yeah, I learned really quickly that the Gulf has small windows for surf because I remember leaving to drive home after an event and it was still a few feet overhead at the pier. And then by the time I made it back to St. Augustine, my buddy sent me a picture and it was back to knee high. And so how fast it dropped off over there, I didn't realize it until then.
Yeah, it was so funny. When I started working with my dad, he would go to all these different events and stuff. And one year he asked me, he says, hey, I've got tickets to the Daytona 500. Do you want to go? And I'm like, no. He's like, you don't want to go? I'm like, no, I have no desire to go to that. I said, but I tell you what, just remember this day. So in the fall, when I tell you one day I'm not coming in because the waves are really good, that's my Daytona 500 day. I said, I'm saving that for a day that I can actually go have fun. You go off with your buddies and you enjoy. I do not want to go to the race.
That's what we used to have to do at Flagler because you had an attendance policy where if you missed too many classes, you just got dropped. And so we were every surfer in all of our classes was all on surf line, checking forecasts, like what day are we going to bail if there's a system moving through. It's a low pressure, a tropical storm or whatever it is, trying to figure out what days everybody not going to show up to class. I remember one class we had an adjunct. It was like an accounting class. And there was a bunch of guys in the class that were all trying to get out of it to go surf. And he made us a bet. He's like, if you can, handle this problem, he basically laid out a bookkeeping issue. If you can get every single one of these right by the end of the class as a group, we'll take Monday off and you guys can go surf. Because he also wanted to go surf. And so I don't know if he teed us up for an easy one.
Was it 2 + 2?
No, it wasn't quite that easy, but it definitely wasn't the hardest one we ever saw.
No, it's because surfers kind of know that, and they really we compete in a sport or work in a sport that you're completely dependent upon weather, and you're dependent upon the winds, tide, swell direction. There's so much stuff that has to come in to play, and just one of those things can be slightly off.
Yeah,
and it's like this could have been the greatest day ever. This could have been the greatest day.
It's so close to being really good.
Yeah, surfers are some of the most frustrated perfectionists in the world, right? We're just that way. So, what did you major in at Flagler?
I majored in sport management and then minored in business.
Do you ever have Dan Stewart as an instructor?
I did not.
So you managed to dodge the dean of students.
I think I might have.
Yeah. Dan was a good friend of the family. His wife was one of our coaches out at St. Joe. And my senior year in high school, she decided that all of the boys had too big of a chip on their shoulder. And we were all in PE as seniors. We're like, well, how hard can PE as seniors be? In the third semester, she decided that we would do square dancing. To humble all of us.
Yeah.
You should have seen the notes we brought in. You should have seen the injuries we were faking.
Everybody's in crutches and walking boots.
Well, and one of the kids' dad was a doctor, and we would bring notes in from his dad. And she's like, I'll call Dr. Ibanez. I know this is not true. She's like, I know this is not true.
Oh,
we tried it all. We really did. We were inventive as we could be. So when you graduated from Flagler, were you directly involved in Christian surfers, or did you go do something else before?
Yeah, so I was involved at the local level. I was just volunteering. And so I was, a volunteer leader in St. Augustine, and I had actually been working. I was managing the surf camp for Sawgrass Country Club for pretty much my sophomore through graduation every summer. And so
that's a nice gig.
It was a really nice gig. It was one of my favorite jobs I've had. The guys that were my boss and my department head are still good friends. One of them I get to to do some surf trips with every now and then. But so I had a really great summer job, but what happened was I worked one last summer of that surf camp, missed the hiring window for all the big boy jobs that I had been starting to put feelers out for, and had, a couple of open doors. And so September, October rolls around, surf camp's done, and now I don't have a full-time job. And I remember having the conversation of getting ready to move back to Orlando, in with my parents, trying to reset and figure out what's going to happen. And I get a call from the new national director from Christian Surfers. We had met for maybe 5 minutes at the going away party for the previous national director. And he just asked to grab lunch. And so we went out to lunch because the waves were terrible, so we didn't surf. But he just asked me, hey, would you be willing to come on staff with us? And 22-year-old me is like, what does that even look like? And so we had a conversation, and he told me to take some time and pray it over and talk with the family and see if it was a good fit. And yeah, it was definitely a big leap of faith. I remember talking with my dad, and he's like, you can get an office job at 30, but if this is what you're feeling called to do and you have the time to do it now, just go for it and see if it works. You can always reset later.
So what job did your dad have?
My dad's a civil engineer.
Civil engineer. Okay.
Yeah, but he wanted to be a pilot. So I think there's a little bit of that there.
All of us had something else we wanted to do.
Yeah.
You're looking at someone who wanted to be a huge marine biologist in Amanda, but she could not find a way to make marine biology pay the bills.
Yeah. I played with dolphins for a little while, but $7.50 after a couple of raises. That's can't pay the bills with that.
No.
It wasn't. Yeah. So we all had something. Yeah. You're like, oh, I really want to do this. I really, yeah. And it just does. You're like, I got to get a real job. So I think that's really great that your dad recognized that and said, hey, this is your opportunity if you're going to go do this, to get involved in it.
Yeah.
And so what year was that?
That was end of 2016, beginning of 2017.
So have you 8 years at this role?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, 3 different roles, but same organization. A lot of growing. We've had the staff growing, so been able to move around some different roles over time.
So what's your current role?
So my current role is the Southeast Regional Director. So I help kind of resource all of our local chapters from Charleston down through Miami.
How many chapters?
Right now in the region, we've got 7 active and then a couple in development. Yeah.
Do you call them up and go, hey, we need a plane just so we can fly to these really cool spots and go surfing all the time?
We've had those dreams, and we've even thought about calling some friends who are pilots, but I don't know if we'll be able to foot the bill for that one.
I'm like the worst guy. I'd be like sitting in staff meetings and be like, no, Davis, stop. No more. Just no more. That's enough of those ideas. Because everyone would be like, yeah, that's a really great idea. How do we pay for it? And it is kind of cool. So Miami to North Carolina?
Yeah, well, southern half. We split South Carolina in half.
Okay.
So I've got Charleston, and then our mid-Atlantic guy takes over in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, so it definitely takes off at the Cape.
Yeah.
Cape Hatteras. They won't let you.
Man. I can't have Cape Hatteras.
I know.
That's a long drive from here to go visit.
It is a long drive. The legend went, I guess, with some folks that you guys had met in Central America.
Yep. Yeah. So some of the guys in Peru that we were just hanging out with flew in and got to ride with the legend himself up to the Outer Banks. And man, that was a good trip last year.
Well, it's probably the first time they've ever been in a $3 million Winnebago. I mean, Tim's got everything. He's got New View painted on the side of it. Yeah. Right. He's down at cleaning windows all the way up and back. No, I'm joking. Tim does not have a $3 million. It's $1.5 million max. $1.5 million. So what are kind of the duties? What do you guys do? How do you get people involved in Christian Surfers?
Yeah, so all of our chapters are run by volunteers. It's really led from the ground level. And so my job is basically to help serve all of our volunteer leaders. So whatever they need, if they need insurance for an event or if they need help putting together resources, we have Surfers Bibles and magazines that we go to print with. And so giving them just the resources they need to reach the communities that they live in. That's really what my job is making sure they have every possible thing that that we have at our disposal for them to do ministry in their beach towns.
How many kids do you think you impact right now that are in the program?
Oh, that's hard to say. I mean, right now, just in St. Augustine alone, we're having anywhere from 20 to 50 people show up on a Monday night, and that's happening in at least 30 different communities around the U.S. right now. And so it's hard to say, you know, because these kids, especially here, I love watching the high school kids bring their friends out and really just check in with them on how life's going and try to encourage them to step into something new, and just seeing not just like the impact on one person, but how one person turns into 4 more when they bring their friends. So that's been cool. I can't even put a number to it.
Well, and it's, we talked, so we had Epic on last night talking about all the different issues and behavioral health issues and mental health issues that are out there today, and trying to reach people where they're at. And, you know, reaching out to kids that are involved in the surfing community. You might not catch these kids in a lot of other places, right? They're at the beach. They're not, some of them aren't playing other sports. Some of them are great multi-sport athletes, but some of them are, hey, I'm just in the surfing. I'm just at the beach. So, you know, getting that opportunity to get a hold of them and give them a, you know, a message and tell them, hey, people do care about you, and there's great things out there. And, you know, everybody struggles at those teenage years. None of us got through that easy.
No.
Except for the legend. So. Except for but any kind of success stories with some of those kids here? Well, you don't have to mention names, and we
we have one of our younger guys who's helping lead a ton right now. He was actually struggling a couple years ago with, you know, drugs, alcohol, and just a lot of the things that come with, you know, that later high school age, and a lot of the partying, and, you know, with that depression, and you know, some thoughts of self-harm, and just getting to see what happened when he was surrounded by people that genuinely cared about him. He's been just doing so well. I mean, he's been a huge role in reaching a lot of his friends. Going from a place where it was like worried to be home by yourself to now bringing 3 or 4 friends to church, bringing 3 or 4 friends on a surf trip to go do mission somewhere. Just seeing the growth in him as a person, and just seeing his whole just being shift from, you know, this quiet kid that wasn't sure who he was, this person who's really confident in their identity now, and really confident in what God's doing in their life. It's been pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, I those are kind of stories, like say you grab that kid that's at that spot that's struggling, and you're able to kind of wrap people around him and go, hey, your life's important. Things are, you know, we can help you through stuff. We're here to talk to you if you have a problem. Because so much of what kids have today, I talked about the other day, they have the ability to look up anything on a phone. And they have the ability to talk to anybody on a phone, but they don't have the ability to connect with people.
Yeah.
And they're missing out on that one-on-one connection of being able to talk. And, you know, so much of their time is spent looking at a screen versus, hey, I got an issue with this, or I have an issue with that, or I need help, or, you know, just not being outside enough. Right? I mean, just trying to get away from all of that. And for me, and we talked a lot, and I really would love to get you hooked up with Task Force Hydro One. It's a bunch of veterans that literally 2 guys that were surfing one day that looked at each other in the water and said, you're a vet, I'm a vet. Surfing has helped me. Surfing saved my life. We should get more vets out surfing. And so they're doing a wonderful job with it. But it'd be great to kind of get your 2 groups together, because I think there's a whole lot that the younger kids could learn, and they're out there surfing. Stoking Saturdays is first Saturday of the month is at the pier.
I think you have it in your binder.
I do have it in my binder.
The dates. Throw me the binder and I'll get it.
I'll throw you the binder.
We'll get these dates out for you.
You're going to find all the questions for tomorrow trivia in there. So, you know, if you find answers, it's okay.
I don't have a photographic memory like Blake.
Blake has an incredible photographic memory. And also this weekend is Surf Quest. On Saturday, ARC Surf Quest is Saturday.
And Bobby mentioned that in the comments. Keep talking. I'll let you know when I find it. Okay.
But I'd love to get you, because those guys, same thing. It's just that connection. It's just getting together. For me, being out in the water, if I don't get out in the water every week or so, Darcy will look at me at times and she's like, you need to go surfing. Kendall, have you just looked at him and said, just go surfing today?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It happens a lot. Like something's different. You just need to leave and surf.
Yeah.
Even if it's bad, just go find some surfing.
Please, go paddle around.
Just getting in the water helps.
Yeah. It really was, especially like I said, with all these phones, and I mean, you're busy. People are so connected. You're doing email, you're doing text messages, all the social media stuff. And when you put that in the car and you get to walk out to the beach and there's nobody bothering you for like an hour, it's the greatest thing.
Yeah. It's a reset.
Yeah. And the friendships, I've had friendships playing other sports, but surfing friendships are almost instantaneous.
Yeah.
I mean, you meet somebody out in the water and you start talking to them, and you immediately have this connection of, hey, we're surfers together, we're out here in the water, and it's just unreal how cool that is.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, and language barriers don't exist.
That's very true.
You know, I mean, you go to countries that Central America Spanish speak, you may know 3 words, they may know 3 words,
Yeah.
but you're communicating the entire time you're out there about surfing and which waves you're going for, and hey, that was a good way. It's just really fun to watch that stuff.
Oh yeah, it's something as simple as throwing someone a shocker, giving them a hoot when they're on a good wave like that. That breaks all the language barriers that there could be.
So the Dominican Republic was your first trip.
Yeah.
So what hooked you on that trip about, hey, I really want to go on more mission trips?
It was a combo of the waves were incredible the first trip. That's probably the best I've ever seen that country break was that first trip 8 years ago. But also getting to meet our ministry partner down there. It's a family that started an orphanage, and they work with street kids from all over the island. And they actually had their first one in Venezuela. But just seeing how much they poured into these kids, from everything from putting them through school to teaching them about the Bible. And, the husband, his name's John, he had this one class he did with the boys. It was called Man Class. And it was everything that your dad would teach you, from how to shake a hand, how to go through a job interview, how to tie a tie. It's like the things that you learned from your dad, he took the time to teach them all the small details. And just seeing the impact on those kids, because some of the older kids that had aged out and had to move out of the orphanage because it's government funded to an extent, they were working at the coffee shop that this family started to help fund everything. And so these older boys are 18, 19 years old. They're working at the coffee shop, and they're coming back up the hill to the orphanage and spending time with the younger kids because they remember what it was like to have that family pour into them. And so just seeing the people that we were working with just got me hooked and wanted me to spend as much time as I could doing that. You started to feel like you had family all over the world. Yeah.
I mean, we really do. We just don't realize we do until
Yeah.
you get into those kind of situations and you
100%.
start talking to people and you start, kind of realizing it. So Dominican, what other countries have you been to? You mentioned Peru, but where else have you been? And you just got back from Peru,
we just
right?
came home from Peru a couple weeks ago.
Is it true Tim made you carry his board, his stuff?
No, I watched
Okay.
Tim carried that paddleboard for probably a mile and a half through the Miami airport. I don't know how he did it. My board bag is smaller and lighter, and I was still suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So legend status is still there.
He does have legend status. He
Still
truly
there.
does. Yeah. And if you want to watch Tim get emotional, you have to go back and watch Monday's show.
Okay.
I almost had to reach under and get the Kleenex box.
Yeah.
He was really getting emotional about it.
Yeah, I loved him. He's got such a good heart.
And it was really about something that he should be crying about, not like the taxes he paid. I mean, it was something that really was an emotional, heartfelt thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, so we just got back from Peru. That was an incredible trip. Done El Salvador a good bit. Done Nicaragua. Let's see, did Jamaica, which was a really interesting one. Spain and France a few years back. Just a lot. For me, it's been a lot of going back to the same places. Like the Dominican Republic has felt like a second home for the last 7-8 years. Where, my friend that's our surf guide and one of our ministry contacts, I met his daughter my first trip, and she was turning 3 years old. She's 12 now, or 11, 12 years old, and I've just seen her grow up every year going down there, and so she feels like family to me. And so when I go down there, like I didn't go this past year because we were taking the winter off to celebrate our wedding, but I got a text.
Congratulations, by the way.
I got a text from my friend's
You
daughter.
better not have missed that.
I did not miss that.
Okay, just saying.
And I know I married the right one because I got a surfboard on wedding day. That's pretty special.
That's very special.
But I got a text from my friend's daughter.
Sometimes if you marry the wrong one, they burn yours on wedding day.
That's good.
Or break your golf clubs. Or
Yeah.
yeah.
Dang.
So it was a good one.
Kendall, well done. Well done, young lady.
Yeah.
I was way out of my league there. I had no idea what I was ordering, but I think I got the right one.
She done good. That thing goes.
So, Nicaragua.
Yeah.
Where did you guys go in Nicaragua?
So we were in Popoyo.
Okay.
So we were partnered in Nicaragua with a medical NGO. It's called One World Health. And so we are doing a week full of mobile medical clinics around that whole coastal area. And so the day was get up early, go for a surf. And so we'd run over Surf Popoyo or Santana, one of the spots in that area. And then we'd come back for breakfast, load up. They had this they called it a mobile medical unit, but it's basically an RV with an X-ray suite and all the medical supplies for a clinic. And we would go out to some of the more remote towns around Tola and Rivas.
Did you run into a guy named JJ down there?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
So JJ took us out on the boat and took us around all the spots that he named and all the fun times there. So that was great. JJ and then Tony at Surf Sanctuary. He's, I guess, a Jack's guy.
Mhm.
So we were staying there, but we ran into JJ in the water, and he jumped in with us.
Yeah, that's a fun. I managed to go there twice. It's a little harder to get there. It's not an easy, whether you fly into Managua and then do the drive, or whether you fly into Liberia and then do the border crossing, which is its own interesting kind of way to get into a country.
Yeah, that isn't it. I had some friends do that land border crossing last year, and they told me they would not recommend it.
I've done it twice now. One time we did it intentionally. The second time we were flying in and out of Managua, and the person who was supposed to pick us up didn't show up.
Oh no!
And so we're like, they're fine. Well, we're going to be there in 30 minutes. We're like, great. The flight leaves in an hour. So it's 2-hour drive to the airport. When we get to Managua, we got to find a hotel. Then we got to stay somewhere. There's only one flight a day out. And we started looking at flights for all 4 of us to get home. It was going to take like another week and a half. And we're like, nah, we're just headed down to Liberia. So we did the border crossing and went that way. And it was a very interesting.
That's an interesting one.
I was like the CO on that one, the military CO going, we are evacing out a different way.
We're gone.
We're gone another way. We're not staying. But great. The people down there are absolutely amazing. They're so grateful. That they're just huge hearts and just really a neat place to go.
Yeah, I've never been around people that were so content with what they had and so joyful. Like we were in a village where there was maybe 15 houses and, a church in the middle. And, we were finishing up the day at the clinic and you see these little kids playing with a broomstick and like, a ball of trash playing baseball. And like, we just jumped in and we're having some fun. And, one of the nurses was like, you guys can have fun doing anything, can't you? We're acting like kids because we're still children internally.
Amanda, you can let Kendall know, right? That the secret is that men never grow up. Like 7th grade, second semester, we never grow up.
Never.
Yeah, we're just doesn't matter.
They're
our
never
age.
done potty training either.
Oh my gosh, is that not the truth?
Sorry.
Wow, Amanda went to a deep dark place.
And this is why Darcy doesn't watch the show.
She's probably nodding right now, going, yeah. But great there. Costa Rica is kind of the same way. I mean, same people. But the interesting thing between Costa Rica and Nicaragua is the minute you cross that border, soccer is on the southern end, right?
Yeah.
Costa Ricans, there's a soccer field in every town. It is kept. It's manicured. They play soccer between the towns and the cities. You cross that border, it's baseball fields. Nicaragua is baseball everywhere, and you rarely see a soccer field. But everybody has a Major League Baseball hat on.
Yeah.
They all have their favorite team.
Oh, yeah.
It is just such a stark contrast between those two countries.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I actually have never been to Costa Rica. We're actually going next month. But that'll be my first time in Costa Rica. I've been most of the other places down there, but
where are you headed to?
We're going to be in Estoril.
Okay. We'll talk after the show.
Yeah.
I don't want to bore everybody on the show, so we'll talk after the show. So, no, it's really, really neat, and it's fun. It's great to go to those communities. How was Christian Surfers received in like Spain and France?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I'm going to France next month as well. We're doing some outreach around the Olympics, and France is really unique because it's in a post-Christian culture to where it's kind of seen as the old way of doing things, and it's not necessary anymore. And so we're really just trying to break into some of those communities. We're going to be in Osagor, one of the biggest surf towns in southern France, and just trying to meet people and invite them into community. And there's definitely some cultural differences with, what you would do to spend time together outside of the water. So learning some of those differences, but also figuring out ways to invite them into what God is doing through Christian surfers in France.
Surfer's Bible.
Yeah.
What is the Surfer's Bible?
So the Surfer's Bible is the New Testament of just the Bible. But inside of it is containing a lot of testimonies from people from around the surf industry, people like Bethany Hamilton, Eric Arakawa, CJ Hobgood, just a lot of really well-known surfers that have a Jesus story in their life. And so that's a way to get a Bible in the hands of a surfer that may have never had one or may have never been to church or is trying to figure out a way how to connect with the Bible. And they can open it up and see a story from, one of their favorite shapers, or see a story from Bethany on how God moved in her life. And it's just a cool way of, adding an element of surfing and speaking directly to a surfer's heart, while giving them, the word of God.
If you want to share it, what was your story? What's your...
Yeah, my story, I grew up in Orlando, and my family's amazing. I grew up in church, but I grew up playing baseball, and so I had a travel coach that was an amazing man of God, and he really poured into every kid that was in the program. And more or less, I was really solid until I got to college, and then, an injury, not playing baseball anymore. The dream of playing college baseball shattered, and then trying to figure out who I was, because my identity was wrapped up in being a baseball player in high school. That's just how a lot of kids get it. And so having to, let that shatter and then figure out and have people come into my life and teach me that my identity is not what I do. It's my identity is given by my Creator, and that I have value in that. And so learning that through surfing was a huge part of my story, which is why Christian Surfers is such a big part of my life, because it's where I reconnected with my faith. And so I just want to be hopefully that person to the next kid that's struggling with that.
So were you recruited by Dave Barnett to play ball at Flagler?
I tried to walk on at Flagler.
Yeah.
And combo of not being talented enough and blowing out my shoulder all at the same time.
Well, I don't know the blowing out the shoulder. I knew the not being talented enough. So I went to Florida Southern. They were Division II. I'm like, well, how good can Division II, right, basketball be? And I looked in the gym, and the freshman point guard was from Miami Senior High. He eventually became the Naismith Player of the Year, under 6 foot. Our senior, great guy.
Yeah.
And I looked at that, and I went downstairs, and I found the cross country team.
Yeah.
Because they were desperate for cross country runners. They were desperate for anybody that wanted to run. And I was I did that for like 1 year. They're like, are you coming back next year? I'm like, no, I almost killed myself.
Yeah.
Because in Lakeland, running in September, it's like 100 degrees in the afternoon at 5 o'clock. And it's like, yeah, I'm
Lake Hollingsworth.
I do not like to run.
Lake yes.
I went to Southeastern.
You went to Southeastern. Oh my gosh. So my junior and senior year, we decided we had cars and we didn't want to go to the laundromat at Florida Southern. So there's a laundromat around the corner between Southeastern and Florida Southern. And the Southeastern students would be in there studying their Bible and doing all the right stuff. And we would go through our clothes in the laundry and then go out in the parking lot and start drinking.
Yeah.
I know they were praying for us. I know they were in there just praying for us. I was like, oh my gosh. Yes. But there was a whole crew from Florida that would go over and play basketball. They had friends over at Southeastern, and they would go play on some of the days. But yeah, it was just a great school. You played volleyball there, right?
No, not there. Just in high school.
Just in high school.
Yeah, middle school, high school.
You blew out your shoulder too?
No. Thank God, no.
I knew you were a volleyball player, but yeah. So Southeastern, what major in nursing?
I majored in pre-med with minor in chem and theology, which was I wanted to go to dental school. We talked about it earlier that God kind of laughs when you make your own plans. All those doors were shut very quickly, and I moved home with my parents. Thankfully, they took me back in, and then ended up taking about a year off, and then went to University of Florida and did an accelerated nursing bachelor's there. And COVID happened, and then a lot of life stuff happened at the same time, and then started nursing up at Baptist, did a year in adults, and God, I switched to pediatrics. So I love the little people. They're my favorite. But I just finished my most recent degree at University of Florida too. So I have a doctorate in nursing practice. So I'm a nurse practitioner now. Just got to pass boards.
Awesome. Congratulations.
So, hopefully.
Finally done with the school.
Finally done with the school. I think I'm done with school.
You can't.
My parents said the first degree was on them, but the rest was all on me. So I have to stop.
My parents said that too.
I
was like, I'm good with the bachelor's. I'm good.
I got the 4-year thing. Like, you got 4 years to get through anything.
Don't mess it up.
Yeah.
I got the 4-year thing. I sat down with the brochure. I looked at everything I had to do to get through the communications degree, and I checked it off. I think I had to change 2 classes along the way. because they dropped the class. They didn't exist anymore. I went to my advisor and said, here's my book from my freshman year. Well, we'll substitute this one or we'll let you take that class. I'm like, okay, I got 4 years to get this done. Then I decided to go back and get a degree in construction. And that one was on me. That was a working full-time, going full-time.
Cool.
It's a lot.
The business didn't pay for it?
My dad offered. And I told him no. I had a younger brother who was at law school. I said, he's paying for his law school, so I'm paying for my secondary degree. I said, the rules are what the rule was. You don't change. And I think he was a little offended. He's like, well, the business one. No, I got this. I got it. I know what I got to do. It's going to hurt. It's going to be painful. But yeah, I'm going to go to, because I went to UNF because I could work there and it was easier to get back and forth there to get back and forth from Gainesville. Yes. Gainesville would have been a lot harder drive.
And you're also a Seminole, so you wouldn't have gone to Gainesville anyway. No.
It's so tragic. I didn't consider it really a full school. So, yeah, no. Just, all you Gators out there.
UNF is more of a school than UF?
What?
Yes.
Since when? They don't even have football.
Listen, I'll be rooting for you at 7 p.m. in the College World Series against Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And we get Tennessee. Florida State's got Tennessee. So how'd you guys meet? So I don't think you're not a surfer. So
I definitely am not.
Yeah. So how did you guys meet?
We met at our church. Actually, at Colonial. And
of course, it was COVID, so everything was. It was through Instagram.
Did you meet wearing masks?
No. I didn't like wearing masks.
We had seen each other at church, but we never talked to each other. Yeah. And then COVID happened. And we did our testimonies over Instagram during COVID. Yeah. And
there were some times that we almost met in person, but I'm pretty oblivious to a lot of things. Mm-hmm. I think she tried to walk up and say hi, and I
did.
Really
he completely turned around and walked away. I was like, well, he's either in a relationship or he's not interested. So.
Or just not intelligent. That's usually the culprit there.
So you did the middle school thing. Cute girl walked up, and you walked away.
Oh, panic mode.
Yes.
No.
Okay. So see, I fully get that.
Yeah.
At least you didn't go South Park and throw up on her shoes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm glad I don't have that response. I usually just get scared and walk away.
No. That is. So you guys met there, started dating.
Yeah. Hung out for a little bit, life stuff, year break, started dating afterwards, and then that was all she wrote.
Yeah. He respectfully backed away when I had a lot of family stuff going on. And then God kind of came back around and was like, I think you guys should be together.
Surf camp.
Surf camp.
All
over again.
Which is this week.
It's this week.
Is this like the anniversary?
It is.
Pretty much,
we even have a picture.
Do you have the same Do you have the same anniversary date of when you started dating?
It was 2 days after my birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were walking on the beach and I was like, all right, I need to know what your intents are. Like, you have to tell me because it's my birthday.
She forced me to answer fully and clearly.
Were you sweating?
No, because that whole year off, I was like, I know what I want now. And I'm not going to be an idiot the second time.
Well, I'm glad you didn't walk away that time.
Yeah. That would have been it. I don't know what I would have done after that.
You would be lost.
Yeah.
You would be lost.
Correct.
One less surfboard.
One less surfboard.
Let's take it down to something that really hurts. Let's go down to something right to the heart.
Nice board.
I'm sorry. I had to.
No, it's
a winner.
Now, are you going to try to learn to surf?
I kind of am.
She is. She can surf.
I take a hiatus in the winter months because it's cold.
Yeah, she didn't do cold water. I even got her a spring suit and it doesn't.
I've tried it a few times. It's hard to paddle in a wetsuit.
We did a trip to Costa Rica. She surfed for 7 days straight. And then we came home, landed. I think the next day there was a northeast swell. It was probably early to late November. It was cold. And everyone's like, oh, we're going out. I was crying paddling out in the wetsuit because my shoulders were just shot.
It hurt.
And I was like, I'm never doing this again. I said, this just is the most miserable paddle out I've ever had. And it was when the waves were breaking way out at the end of the pier.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the short paddle out.
Did you think about the pier jump?
No. Mm-mm. I've seen too many bad pier jumps.
I've seen a couple broken legs.
Yeah. I mean, the favorite one is the guy jumps off with his leash attached to the board, and the leash gets hung up.
Oh, no.
And so he's hanging, and the board's hanging, and yes.
Oh, no.
Actually, that almost happened to me in Peru. I jumped off the boat at Chicama, and I almost got my leash hung because my leash somehow got wrapped around my buddy's leash, who was also in the boat. And it's not like not like a panga in Nicaragua. You're in a Zodiac, so it's like a 4-person, and it's a crowd boat, and I jumped out and almost pulled him with me. That was
No, leashes are great things to help keep your board near you, but they're not. Until they're not. And when they're not your friend.
Yeah.
No.
The leash giveth and it taketh away.
Oh,
It does.
My brother was out surfing with his kids, and they had the leash on the back of the longboard, and he's just pushing them in the wave, and the leash wraps around his arm. And cut the circulation off in his arm. This longboard's pulling him. He's getting drug along. And fortunately, the waves weren't much bigger. But, I come back from a walk on the beach, and there's lifeguards all around him. I'm like, okay, what'd you do? Well, the leash got wrapped around my arm. I'm like, you never let the leash get wrapped around your arm. I said, no.
It wasn't a leash, but I broke my arm it's what ended my dolphin training career effectively. I broke my arm because of a bungee. It was wrapped around a piece of equipment.
gosh.
We had to clear the deck. The interns couldn't get the bungee unhooked. It was way overstretched. I could get it unhooked, and then it just wrapped around my arm and crack.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Were you showing off to the interns?
No, we were getting yelled at. We had some VIPs. We had some VIPs coming on the deck, and the general manager was like, "This deck's a mess. We got people coming. They're walking down now. Got to get this off." So we're getting yelled at from all different angles, and the interns panicked, and so I stepped in and broke my arm, and worked all day. It wasn't displaced. It was cracked. Didn't know I broke it until
Figure it out later.
my weekend, which was 4 days later.
Oh my God.
So on Monday, when we do 5 questions, tell us how you're tough without telling us you're tough. You can just retell this
That's a
story.
pretty good
right?
one.
Yeah. Tell
Refer
us.
to today's show.
That is a good one.
Tell us. What's Christian Surfers got coming up?
So coming up, we've got big one is the Olympics outreach. So that's actually happening in 2 separate places. The surf event during the Olympics is actually in Tahiti at Chopu. And so we'll have a team on the island. So from the New Zealand crew, our area director for the Asian Pacific has taken a small group from there. And then I'll be taking a team to southern France for the Olympics.
Is Kelly in or out?
That is a good question. I can't even remember. I haven't been keeping track with
I was trying to remember if John is still in.
I thought it was Griffin and John that qualified.
Okay. Yeah. But you're still leaving one of your best big wave riders on the beach.
Well, it's going to be interesting because I think Brazil got the 3rd spot because they won the ISA World Games.
Okay.
So I think they might have all 3 of the heavy hitters in. So that can be tricky. But, well, one of them doesn't like to surf Chopu, so maybe 2.
It's going to be very interesting. And I'm a huge Kelly Slater fan. If he's in the contest, I'll watch and keep up with the contest.
Yeah.
And as soon as he's out, I'm like, I'll just.
It seems like they're trying to do everything they can to keep Kelly in the game for the Olympics. But I don't know if he's going to be there this year.
No, and he is. We have this huge debate with Troy and I for years. I think he's one of the greatest athletes of my generation and of all time. Right?
He's definitely up there.
He's the youngest person to win a surf contest on the world tour. He's the oldest person to win a surf contest. It's just amazing, the longevity.
He's also the youngest world title winner and the oldest world title.
Yes. Yeah. And Troy's like, it's not a sport if there's a judge involved. If there's a referee, it's a sport. If there's a judge involved, and I'm like, you just made everybody that watched ice skating and diving and all those other sports hate you. He's like, I'm sorry, I'm a baseball player. That's just the way it is.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's just so funny to.
That's fair.
And I'm like, well, yeah.
Judging's pretty subjective. And I know a lot of the guys that judge some of the QS events in the area, and they take a lot of heat, but they do a good job.
I wouldn't want that job.
No, I spot for them every now and then.
I wouldn't want it. And you guys run a series of surf contests, right?
So we used to. There used to be a series out in California that would go up and down the coast. We're actually in conversations about trying to restart that down here in Florida.
Okay.
And just hitting different parts, whether it be Sebastian, Smyrna, Jack's Beach, and then maybe here and then Pensacola. But that's probably another year or 2 down the pipe, just for all the logistics that need to happen for that. But yeah, we've got some cool conversations there. And then October we've got our Outer Banks camp out. And so that's going to be our North America area gathering for Christian Surfers International. So it'll be the U.S., Canada, and then the English-speaking Caribbean. So we're going to go all mob up to the Outer Banks. And just like last year, we had about 125 guys come up. And it was just awesome. You know, the Outer Banks is such a great spot because you can spread out up and down the coast and not, insta crowd a spot too bad. Hopefully it's a little more manageable this year. Last year it was big enough to where even some of the name guys were feeling a little nervous out there, and I felt better about myself spending time at the bottom of the ocean that week.
How big was it?
It wasn't huge, but it was heavy. It was probably 2 to 3 foot overhead on the biggest spots, but breaking in really shallow water and going real fast and out of my depth for sure. I have a picture of me under the ocean and my board getting barreled, but that's about as close as I got to pulling one out.
If you're, and that's the thing I say, we surf a certain type of wave here, and we don't get access to those waves. No. If you surf the bigger spots that get consistently heavier surf, you get used to that. Then you get thrown into that, and it's a whole. It's like, okay, I got to figure out where to drop in at. I got to figure out how to make the turn at the bottom. And somebody that surfs that wave all the time is doing it with their eyes closed. Yep. Yeah, we're doing it with our heart in our throat, thinking, okay, this might be the last drop in I ever have.
Yeah, so, it's like, am I going to go over the falls and face plant into a sandbar, or am I going to pull this one off? But it was nerve-wracking when we pulled up to a spot and you see guys like Brett Barley, Jesse Hines, the East Coast legends. I have no business being in the same lineup as those guys today. Like, I'm way too painfully average to be out there.
Barley's got a great Instagram page.
Oh, yeah.
His Instagram page is awesome. Yeah, really. Every once in a while, he'll do like a week of these great waves that he got. And then on Saturday or Sunday, he'll drop all the outfits. All his fails. It's like,
awesome.
It's so good to watch him just wipe out. You're like, I feel so much better. He's not perfect.
Yeah, I love that Brett does that because it makes everybody feel a little bit better and that he's a human too.
Well, yeah, it's all. I mean, you have those where you're having the greatest day ever.
Yep.
And then the next wave, I was in, I think, college or something. I was at Volano Beach, and it's kind of choppy, and it wasn't maybe kind of waist shoulder high. And I dropped in on a wave, and it was just one of those freak waves that it just barreled. And I'm in this stand up barrel on Volano, and I come flying out of it, and I'm like high as can be emotionally. This is great. I take off on the next wave thinking the same thing's going to happen.
Yeah.
I get thrown over the falls. I get rolled. I can feel the bottom because I'm bouncing off of it repeatedly as I'm rolling, and I'm running out of air. And I know that there's not that far from where I took off to the beach. Like any second now, I'm just going to get spit up on the beach by this wave.
Like, I got to come up at some point.
I finally was able to kind of get my hands on the bottom. I was in knee-deep water. I mean, it is just crushing me. Yeah. And I had to go sit up on the beach for a second. I was like, the back-to-back waves, best wave and worst wipe out of all time. So, yeah. When's the next Christian Surfers meeting?
So we're going to be out at the beach Monday night again.
Every Monday night?
Yeah, we're pretty much every Monday night. We take one Monday off a month to kind of plan out the next month. But we're on Instagram, Christian Surfer St. Augustine. You can kind of keep track of our schedule there.
Where do you meet on the beach?
Usually we're at 4th Street.
4th Street, okay.
For Monday night. Sometimes we'll be at Butler. If we're doing like a cookout or something. But
do you usually try to surf? I mean, I know this time of year it's really hard to try to surf. And
yeah, we'll surf as much as we can, obviously with the conditions how they are. But really, just like we said earlier, getting in the water is so good, even if it's not great. It's just good for you to get in the water. And so, last Monday it was pretty small, but we just got in and messed around, and then we'll spend some time on the beach hanging out, talking life, and someone will share a little Devo.
All right. So Christian Surfers Monday night, 4th Street.
Yep.
And then Surf Quest is this weekend at Mary Street, and it starts at 1:00. If you would like pictures with the legend, I think he'll autograph them for you if you bring something. If you bring an article of clothing, he'll autograph that too. He does all those
Sign your
things.
baby, whatever.
Nice that you can join the New View marketing team.
Yeah, the New View marketing team. That's right. Thank you guys so much, Kendal and Jacob, for coming in. Thanks for everything that you're doing. Really, I get an opportunity to go with you on a trip later this summer, so I'm really, really looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
All right. Thanks you guys
so much, Mike.
Thank you. Tune in tomorrow morning where the mics will have been checked and tested by the evening show so that everything should work wonderfully for Pete Melfi's flagship show.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care, guys.
Bye.